Everybody, the Friends of Israel Today is a unique radio show that teaches biblical truth for changing times. We do this through Q&A, timely interviews, dramatic readings from the life of Holocaust survivor Zvi Kalisher, and of course, Bible teaching.
To learn more, visit foiradio.org.
Join us for Friends of Israel Today, Sunday morning at 11:30 Central on American Family Radio.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said he is committed to denuclearization.
Rocket Man should have been handled a long time ago. Little Rocket Man.
We're happy that we have engagement.
This is an extraordinary development.
Remember what got them to the table? The sanctions, and unfortunately, probably some of the bluster coming out of the White House.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself.
The more aggressive he gets, the more he gets done. All of a sudden, Un started talking to
Kim Jong-un has added diplomacy to his arsenal.
He expressed to meet President Trump as soon as possible.
President Trump can truly solve this problem. That would be going down as a great president, and there's no way around that. That is the reality here.
I think the world is breathing a sigh of relief.
Freedom prospers when religion is vibrant and the rule of law under God is acknowledged.
An informed patriot is what we want.
Welcome to American Family Radio's Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on conservative talk radio.
Muscular Christianity,
where we relentlessly explore the intersection of truth and politics.
The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
Now, here's your host, Brian Fisher.
Hi, and welcome to this Free-for-All Friday, and what are we calling it?
It's SpamFest Friday.
SpamFest Friday. Remember, we got all this complimentary spam from a listener who is connected to the Hormel plant where this is produced. So toward the end of the program, we are going to have a Spam Festapalooza right here on Focal Point. If you are watching us live streaming on Facebook, you'll actually be able to see us divvy up the spam. We got 4 different varieties here, and taste it and sample it and give you our expert opinion.
You know, actually, this was sent to us quite some time ago, and I have brought up this idea probably for months now.
Yeah, months.
And neither one of you two sounded real enthusiastic about it in the morning meeting.
Oh yeah, well here we are. We are pumped and primed and ready to go.
You know, and like you guys, spam is like a staple in my house growing up. So you know
and I had it 2 weeks ago. Deb fixed some eggs and spam, fried it up in a pan. Yeah. So we've sampled it. We've started. We're using it.
Yeah, stay tuned, people.
All right.
Yeah, you don't want to miss this.
It could be interesting.
Well, let's turn our attention to the Word of God as we begin the program today. You can follow us and read along and pray along with us by going to pray.afa.net. That's the website, pray.afa.net. You'll find a scripture passage identified for every day of the week, of the year, and a prayer that's formed from the very words of that passage of Scripture. And today we're in the book of 2 Samuel. Remember, 2 Samuel is a book about how to pick a president, the things you want to look for and the qualities of a political leader or a business leader or a community leader or a ministry leader. And that's what the book of 2 Samuel is all about. We see good kings, we see bad kings, and the whole point of it is identify those qualities of character that make a king a good king and those that make him a bad king, so you can start voting for good candidates for public office and not voting for the bad ones. Now, chapters 8 and 9 show David consolidating his kingdom. These 2 chapters are the story of David's expansion of his kingdom over the entire Middle East, from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates River. That's the promise that God had made to Abraham. You will control this land. Your heirs, your descendants, will control this land geographically from the Mediterranean Ocean all the way over to the Euphrates Rivers. And that's what David pulls off in these 2 chapters. So this is a story of relentless conquest, overcoming every enemy, receiving tribute from the enemies. That's where the wealth of Israel, that's where David's wealth came from, the tribute that he received. These were taxes that the conquered nations paid to him from their economy, and expanding the borders of his kingdom. You know, that's a picture of what Jesus said about the church. Remember what Jesus said about the church in Matthew 18, about his church: the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. Now, a lot of people get the wrong idea about these gates of Hades. They think that these gates of Hades are kind of, they just get the whole wrong idea, because what Jesus pictures is the church of Christ on the move. Some people pick these gates of Hades as like they're on the march against Christians and we're going to hold them off. No, it's not that way. The gates of Hades, they're in place, and we're coming up against them to destroy them. The church is on the move. The church is on the march. It's not stationary. It's not playing defense. It's aggressively pursuing a campaign of obliterating the resistance to the gospel that Satan raises up. Remember, Paul says in Romans that we are more than conquerors through Christ who loves us. So this is a picture of what's possible for the church as we read through the description of these conquests. I'm just going to touch on them, but it's a picture of what's available, what's possible for the church of Jesus Christ. Verse 1, he defeated the Philistines and subdued them. Verse 2, he defeated Moab. Verse 3, he defeated Hadadezer. He, in verse 5, struck down 22,000 Syrians. The Lord gave victory to David everywhere he went. Verse 6. And then finally, this guy by the king of Hamath his name was Toy. He heard about what David is doing, rampaging across the entire Middle East. So he sent an envoy to David to ask about his health and to bless him. He said, I got to make peace with this guy before my kingdom gets overrun. And so he received tribute. King David dedicated these things to the Lord along with the silver and gold that he had dedicated from all the nations he subdued. He made a name for himself when he returned from striking down 18,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. The Lord gave victory to David wherever he went. And then we see another description about David in verse 15, and this is what we want in public officials. David administered justice and equity to all his people. Now let me ask you, as you look at the current political scene, what is the main gripe that we have? We look at what is going on with this Mueller investigation. We look at what's going on, the people that are getting away with murder, almost literally, and other people that are being pursued and persecuted who didn't do a single cotton-picking thing. Michael Flynn, what did the guy ever do to anybody? He had to sell his house to pay for his lawyer. What's the problem? It's injustice. It's not fair. There's inequity in our system of law. And David was not like that. That's what we need to look for in public leaders. He administered justice and he administered equity. Now, one last thing before we go to prayer. In chapter 9, David said, is there anyone left in the house of Saul that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake? And he did have a son named Mephibosheth, and he is told by Ziba, who was the guy's steward, there is still a son of Jonathan. He is crippled in his feet. So David asks them to bring Mephibosheth to the capital. He says to Mephibosheth, normally Mephibosheth would fear for his life because he's the last survivor of the rival king of David. And David says to him, do not fear, I will show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan, and I will restore to you all the land of Saul your father, and you shall eat at my table always. So Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. So we see there was this great quality about David. He was strong, vigorous, irresistible in public life, and yet kind and merciful in private life. And Mephibosheth was crippled, was lame in both feet. And that's the way we come to God, isn't it? Every one of us. We come to God crippled in spirit, bankrupt and poor in spirit. And yet God has redeemed us. He has given us a seat at the table of the Father, where we may enjoy table fellowship with God and with our brothers and sisters in Christ. Now that is something that is worthy of praise. Well, let us go to prayer for ourselves and for our land. Lord God, I pray this day for the listening audience of Focal Point, for their families, for their communities, their mayors, for the states in which they live and their governors, for our country, the United States, and our president, President Trump. And I pray that all of us will dedicate ourselves and all we have to you and recognize you as the source of every good thing we have. As we face challenges in life and contend with the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms, I pray that you will give us victory everywhere we go. Please extend the reach of your kingdom through us as you did through David. I pray that we will always do what is just and right in every circumstance, in public life and private life. May we, as David was, be strong and powerful in public life and yet eager to show your kindness, the kindness of God in private relationships. We ask you for public officials at every level who will administer justice and equity. We pray that you will give our military victory everywhere they go, that our enemies may be defeated and subdued, that we may live in peace and security. In Jesus' name, amen.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt and I couldn't pay my bills. I was feeling so bad. I got to a point where I needed some help. So I reached out and contacted Trinity.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813 to talk to a certified counselor.
They were able to take all of my different payments and put them all together.
Trinity will consolidate your accounts into one easy-to-manage monthly payment, put a stop to late fees and over-limit charges, reduce your interest, and possibly improve your credit score. You'll save thousands.
And they were actually able to work with my creditors. I've been able to pay off close to $15,000 in the last 18 months.
If your debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813.
My name is Stephanie, and I'm debt-free for keeps.
1-800-788-1813.
The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. My name is Abraham Hamilton III, and this is the Hamilton Corner. While much media attention has been focused on ISIS and the plight of persecuted minorities in the Middle East, 11,500 Christians have been slaughtered in northern Nigeria in 5 years. Entire villages have been destroyed in one fell swoop. The culprits are Boko Haram, the Nigerian version of ISIS, and the Muslim Fulani herdsmen who burn entire villages to the ground if poor farm families refuse to allow the herdsmen to dominate their farms. Why is this going unreported?
Listen to the Hamilton Corner, weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m. Central on AFR. For more from Abraham Hamilton III, Public Policy Analyst for the American Family Association.
This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on American Family Radio.
Hi, and welcome to Focal Point, American Family Radio, free for all Friday, SpamFest Friday. You'll see what that is at the middle of the second hour. So glad to have you in the conversation. However, you happen to be on board viewing us or viewing us on live streaming on Facebook or live streaming on YouTube.
You're getting a lot of subscribers on YouTube. I guess people are liking this so they can go watch it at the most convenient time. They just click it up.
We have the link up on the Facebook page?
We do. Okay. I just put it on your Facebook Live. You want me to put that out?
Yeah, put it on the Facebook Live. And you can go and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then you go there, and it's just right there. You can call up the latest edition of Focal Point on YouTube. So glad to have you in the conversation. Let's turn our attention. I think the two big things that everybody's talking about are the tariffs and this deal with North Korea. And I think where I want to start is with North Korea. You know, Ronald Reagan, his motto was peace through strength. You want to pacify your enemies, just be so big and tough and strong that they wouldn't dare throw a punch at you because they know that they would be annihilated in return. That's how you keep things at peace. You know, on the playground, you got a guy that's bigger and stronger than everybody. Nobody's going to mess with him. What do you have? You have peace because nobody will take him on. So that's what we got going on, I believe, in North Korea. I believe this is just Donald Trump's strength that is communicating to the North Koreans that they're dealing with somebody who means what he says. If he issues a threat, not an idle threat to him. Well, let's look at some of the reaction. You know what's amazing to me is I'm going to save clip R4. I'm going to save that for Dan Gainor, but we got some other media types that are likewise effusive in their praise of Donald Trump, people that you wouldn't think would be doing that kind of stuff. Let's go down to clip number 4. Clip number 4 is Leon Panetta. Now, Leon Panetta is a former CIA director He was a former defense secretary under Obama. This guy, hardcore leftist, hardcore Democrat, and he's responding here to Anderson Cooper about what Donald Trump has been able to accomplish with North Korea. Remember, North Korea, their dictator, Kim Jong-un, he said, I'm stopping nuclear testing because of Donald Trump, and I am willing to come to the negotiating table. He's already met with South Korea. South Koreans got a message. We'll play the soundbite here in a minute. And Kim Jong-un has said he extended an invitation to Donald Trump. I'd like to sit down with you to negotiate. Donald Trump has made it clear the only thing we are going to be satisfied with is the denuclearization of North Korea. And Kim Jong-un knows that, and he's willing to meet. You know, and we know this is a huge breakthrough. You know how we know? You know how we know this is a huge breakthrough for diplomacy? Dennis Rodman came out today.
Oh, yeah.
He's enthusiastic.
Yeah, that's
He's praising Donald Trump for his inroads with North Korea. Dennis Rodman. Okay, well, let's play clip number 4. This is Leon Panetta, Democrat, talking here about what Donald Trump has done. Clip 4.
Well, I don't think there's any question that Kim Jong-un has added diplomacy to his arsenal of weapons in trying to deal with the United States. And I think, at least from my sense of how he's looking at this, that he has the attitude that he's kind of figured out Donald Trump and what makes him tick. Whether or not that's true or not, who knows? Look, I think this is a positive step. I think the world is breathing a sigh of relief as a result of having these negotiations and even having this kind of meeting. I think all of that is good news.
I think all of that is good news. This is a positive step. He says that North Korea has added diplomacy to his arsenal of weapons, like he's trying to give as much praise to North Korea as he can, but he admits, look, this is North Korea backing down in the face of Donald Trump's strength. He's trying to figure out Donald Trump. Everybody's trying to figure out Donald Trump. You kidding me? Republicans are trying to figure him out. Democrats are trying to figure him out. Kim Jong-un is trying to figure him out. He's got everybody completely off balance, uncertain about what's coming next, and it is working. He's making progress on the economic front with the tariff thing, and then here in international affairs. Now, here is Erin Burnett, clip number 5. She is, I believe, MSNBC or CNN. Oh, she is CNN. Hardcore leftist. Let's listen to what she has been an unrelenting critic of Donald Trump. I don't believe Erin Burnett has said a kind word about Donald Trump since he was inaugurated. Let's listen to what she has to say, clip 5.
All right. Well, thanks very much to all of you. Just an extraordinary evening and, of course, opening the door to the big question. If President Trump can truly solve this problem, that would be going down as a great president. And there's no way around that. That is the reality here.
There's no way around that, man. She says, I wish there was.
That's what it sounded like.
I wish I didn't have to say that. But he would go down as a great president if he can solve this problem. That's a hardcore liberal saying that. Now, here's Bill Richardson, clip number 6. He is a former ambassador to the United Nations. And he's talking here to Anderson Cooper about what Donald Trump has done here. Let's go, clip 6.
Ambassador Richardson, I mean, do you give the president credit for, there's been a lot of bellicose rhetoric over the last year. Is this actually maybe what brought them to the table?
Well, my view is that this is an extraordinary development. I'm flabbergasted, speechless in a positive way, because this potential summit could really lessen tensions in the Korean Peninsula, especially for South Korea, for our troops. So this is a good development. It seems that President Trump and Kim Jong-un have been taking vitamin diplomacy pills, and I think that's very good.
All right, Bill Richardson. He says, what's happening here flabbers my gast. I am flabbergasted by what I'm seeing here. This is extraordinary. Those are his words. Remember, he's a former ambassador to the UN. So when he was in the UN, he was dealing with troublemakers like North Korea all the time. Kind of keep an eye on them. He understood the dynamics there. How do we solve the problem of North Korea? So this is extraordinary what's happening here. It's just amazing to see things come this far. It's going to, if it lessens the tensions in the Korean Peninsula, it'll be very, very good. So that's praise from Bill Richardson, a Democrat who used to be the ambassador to the UN. Now here is the envoy from South Korea, Chung Yo-young. He's the National Security Advisor for South Korea. He was speaking at the White House yesterday, and here's what he had to say.
I told President Trump that in our meeting, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said he is committed to denuclearization. Kim pledged that North Korea will refrain from any further nuclear or missile tests. He understands that the routine joint military exercises between the Republic of Korea and the United States must continue. And he expressed his eagerness to meet President Trump as soon as possible. President Trump appreciated the briefing and said he would meet Kim Jong-un by May to achieve permanent denuclearization.
All right, now you never know. I mean, this is Kim Jong-un talking. You never know how much of this he means. But according to the envoy from South Korea who actually met with Kim Jong-un, the National Security Advisor, Kim Jong-un said he is committed to denuclearization. Now, he knows Donald Trump is going to hold him to that, so that may mean more than it sounds. He's going to refrain from any more nuclear tests, missile tests. Remember, North Korea's been sending those missiles that land on the other side of Hawaii.
Yeah.
He's been out there bragging about how he can reach any part of the United States with a nuclear-tipped missile. He's not talking like that anymore. He said, we're going to stop our missile tests. We're going to stop our nuclear tests. And it's been communicated to him, look, the United States military is working with the South Korean military. Those joint military exercises are going to continue. He says, fine by me. I got no problem with that. Knock yourselves out. So anyway, this is a pretty major step forward. So we'll see, obviously, where things go when they actually meet.
Actually, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is on holding a press conference right now, and she mentioned that Trump won't actually meet with him until there's some concrete moves, something of evidence that North Korea is making changes.
And that they're
not going for the normal talk.
Yeah, I got to see some action, got to see some proof in the pudding before we show up and communicate. Now let's drop back to clip number 2. This is my favorite name for a former Obama administration official, Evelyn Farkas. Her name is Evelyn Farkas. She's on with Chris Matthews. Now, she was in the Obama administration, so she's going to be as committed an opponent of Donald Trump as you can find anywhere on planet Earth. And she's talking to Chris Matthews about what's happening in North Korea. Let's listen.
I would caution everyone not to get overly enthusiastic. I think we are excited now because, again, in the contrast between this negotiating and fire and fury, military action, which is what we were hearing out of the White House, is scary. And so we're happy that we have engagement. But if you remember what Vice President Pence said coming back from the Olympics, he said we're going to look at engagement and maximum pressure. We absolutely have to talk, and I agree with Joe that, we buy time. We buy time, and if what they really will be satisfied with is respect and normalization, great, we can give that to them. But we have to maintain the pressure, because remember what got them to the table: the sanctions, and unfortunately, probably some of the bluster coming out of the White House.
So Donald Trump's bluster gets North Korea to the negotiating table. What's wrong with that? If it works, what's wrong with that? But you notice how reluctant she is to give Donald Trump any credit. Don't get overly enthusiastic. We're excited because the White House was promising military action. That frightened the daylights out of us, so this is a whole lot better than that. But remember what got them to the table. What was it? It was the strength that Donald Trump showed, the sanctions and some of the bluster, which wasn't just bluster because Kim Jong-un thought he just might have meant it. Let's squeeze in the Inhofe clip number 3. Go.
Well, it seems to me that I've gotten to know the president pretty well. The more aggressive he gets, the more he gets done.
Okay.
I mean, look what's happening right now in North Korea. I believe all of that started when he made the strong statement to Kim Jong-un that he had a bigger button, he could fire something and wipe him off the map, and all of a sudden Un started talking to South Korea and saying, I think we'll come to the Winter Games and all of that. We were over there during that time. And we had a hearing yesterday, Maria, that you probably didn't see, but I chaired the hearing. It's Armed Services. We had all of the intelligence people in there. None of them believe that this guy is going to change, that he really wants to negotiate, except me. I was the only one. And the reason is that the guy has never been talked to that way like our president has talked to him, and he has started changing at that point. This is the impression I get by being around this guy. He gets things done, but he does it in a different way, totally unorthodox, but I think that's what he's up to.
That's Donald Trump, totally unorthodox. Now, if Obama had gotten North Korea to the table, they'd be calling for another Nobel Peace Prize.
This is Dr. Richard Land, president of Southern Evangelical Seminary. Welcome to Bringing Every Thought Captive. We've heard a lot about gun violence in the United States over the past few weeks. I want to give you some perspective. As tragic as the school massacre in Florida was, do you know that all gun-related violent deaths in the U.S. amount to about 15,000 Americans being killed every year? Gun-related deaths from all causes, accidental discharge, suicide, violent acts, etc., total about 38,000 deaths annually. Do you know what causes 25% of all deaths in the United States every year? It's abortion. There are approximately 920,000 medical and surgical abortions in the United States each year. 17 human beings were slaughtered in the mass killing in Florida. Planned Parenthood admits to committing 321,000 abortions every year. Planned Parenthood kills as many innocent human beings every 30 minutes as the number of people killed in Parkland, Florida. Yet people vilify the National Rifle Association, but not Planned Parenthood. In fact, Planned Parenthood gets $500 million in taxpayer money every year. You really want to save lives? Then outlaw abortion on demand, not firearms. This is Richard Land.
This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on American Family Radio. Listen to the audio podcast or download today's program at afr.net. You can also read Brian Fisher's columns at afa.net. afa.net.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point American Family Radio. You know, I tell you, we are fighting a winnable war. Try to tell you that every day. Sometimes I don't save enough time to squeeze it in. But we are fighting a winnable war. Just like David was fighting winnable wars in his day, we, as the Church of Christ, the Church of God, were on the move against the gates of Hades, and we are fighting a winnable war. Here's another example. Here's Politico magazine, far left magazine. Mississippi is ready to impose the nation's earliest abortion ban. We talked about this earlier. We talked with the sponsor of that bill, got through the House of Representatives in Mississippi, sailed through the Mississippi Senate with a veto-proof majority, but it doesn't need it because Governor Phil Bryant is eager to sign this bill. Now, I think he's probably going to have some kind of a signing ceremony so everybody can get in on it. Going to be a real celebration. 15-week ban on abortion. Now, never been tried before. And part of the design of this bill is not only to protect the life of babies, that's the number one purpose for this bill, but it's also, if this bill gets challenged in court, because it's unique, it's 15 weeks, takes the ban lower than any other bill has ever done, it very likely will make its way all the way to the Supreme Court. I will flat out guarantee you the first federal court it goes to is going to shut this thing down. And so they'll appeal that, and it may make its way all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, be an opportunity for the Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade and overturn it, shut it down. There's 18 states right now that ban abortion after 20 weeks, but this is the first state in the nation now that has a ban at 15 weeks. We are fighting a winnable war.
Brian,
Fight snowed over on that one.
Did Politico actually use the word impose in that headline? I mean, that's a curious choice of words.
Impose
Yeah.
nation's earliest abortion ban. You know, the way that you're thinking that the way that ought to read is Mississippi protects babies at the earliest stage in America.
Yeah.
That's the way it ought to read.
Yes.
Mississippi ready to protect unborn innocent human babies at the earliest date of anybody in the United States.
Amen.
That shows you the way the media turns things virtually upside down. We've got that. There's a clip I want to play. What's the clip I want to play on this?
Oh,
well, it's not specifically. Oh yeah, I know the one I want to play. Yeah.
It's Friday.
It's in the stack.
It's Friday.
It's in the.
He's got spam
Friday.
on his mind.
It's free for all Friday, free from all rational control and all that stuff. This is clip number 8. Now this is Dean Heller. He is a Republican senator from Nevada. He's a guy that probably in a little bit of trouble. He's in a fight for his life there in Nevada. Remember, that's a state where. Remember when Senator Reid was in trouble? Susan Anga was just about to defeat him. Mm-hmm. He just called the casino bosses and said, you need to round up your people. It was in the afternoon of the election day. Call the casino bosses. You got to get your people on buses. You got to get them out to the polls. And so they did. They just cleared out the casinos, loaded all the workers up on buses and told them to go vote for Harry Reid, and he pulled that thing out. So that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with the state of Nevada. Now, Dean Heller met with supporters. This is back on March 2, so it's about a week ago or so now, in fact, exactly a week ago. And this is a 45-minute tape, and he said something in this tape, according to Politico, that I wanted to get. So he says it at the 45-minute and 23-second mark. Wow. Now, that may not mean anything to you, but it means I had to wade through 45 minutes and 22 seconds of stuff I had absolutely no interest in before I got to the one soundbite that I was interested in. You know, I should have made Rob do this.
Welcome to my world of cutting up clips.
Yeah, I was trying to go easy on Rob. But anyway, I got to the 45-23 mark, and Dean Heller, people have speculated about this, but he drops kind of a bombshell here about what may happen in Washington, D.C. this summer. This is Dean Heller, Senator Dean Heller, Republican senator from the state of Nevada.
One other thing real quickly, and that is I believe we're going to have another Supreme Court justice this year. I think Kennedy's going to retire sometime early summer. That being the case, Republicans are going to have an opportunity now to put another Supreme Court justice in place, which I'm hoping will get our base a little motivated. Because right now they're not very motivated, but I think a new Supreme Court justice will get them motivated.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, this would, Nancy Pelosi's been talking about Armageddon because of the tax reform. Everything was going to fall apart. People were going to die. People were going to be killing everybody. Well, they're not. They're out there spending their wage increases. But this, I can promise you, ladies and gentlemen, this will be Armageddon. I don't know if I got the part where, I thought we could have the part where he said that Mike Lee would probably be nominated. Anyway, I guess that was toward the end of the clip there. But this will be Armageddon. This will, in fact, be Armageddon. You want the mother of all battles. It'll be a battle over the next nominee for the Supreme Court. If Donald Trump nominates a conservative to the Supreme Court, which he's going to do, Democrats, man, they're going to be pulling out all of the stops. I mean, this will be the most intense. I guarantee you, this will be the most intense political battle we have seen in Washington, D.C. absolutely in decades. So, and remember, the Republicans got rid of the fake-a-buster for Supreme Court nominees. All they've got to do is get 51. If the entire Republican delegation hangs together, they can vote anybody that Donald Trump sends to them into office. They can confirm anybody he sends. Any single solitary judge that Donald Trump sends to them, if the Republican delegation sticks together, they can nominate anybody he sends to them. They can afford one renegade because Mike Pence could come in and cast the tie-breaking vote if it's 50-50. But it's going to be interesting because you've got a couple of liberals. You got Lisa Murkowski. You have Susan Collins from Maine. They lean pretty far to the left. It'll be interesting to see which way they go. So it is going to be a battle. We're going to need to crank up the phone lines when we get to that point because it is going to be. And Dean Heller, I don't know what his source is. He believes that Mike Lee, who I think would make a fabulous Supreme Court justice, is likely to be on the short list for that deal. So anyway, that is coming. You might remember that Joy Behar accused Mike Pence of being mentally ill because he was a sincerely devoted follower of Jesus Christ, that's a form of mental illness. Well, she finally apologized to Mike Pence. Disney had a stockholders meeting yesterday, and Dean Iger, who's the president of Disney, because they were asking him about that. You had a lot of Christians that own stock in Disney, and they were asking the president and CEO of Disney, what about this Joy Behar? She insulted every Christian in America. I'm one of them. She insulted me. What are you going to do about it? And so the CEO said, well, look, she has apologized to Mike Pence, and she did. She apologized directly to Mike Pence, one-on-one. But Mike Pence urged her to apologize to Christians all across the country. She refused to do it. She wouldn't do it. Now realize this is the way repentance works. If it's genuine repentance, you want to how do I want to put this? You want to apologize to the people that you've offended, all of them. So if the sin is in private, if it's between you and one other person, then the apology, the repentance can be in private. You patch your differences up and on you go. But if you have committed a sin, which she did, in front of the entire nation, if it's a public sin, then the repentance, the apology needs to be public. And she did not do that, which means that her apology is obviously insincere and shallow. Let's see where we want to go. You know, while we're on this topic, I talked about this yesterday about play the lengthy Tucker Carlson clip about the war on men that's being waged in America. And I said, look, the church has got to be a part of the solution. You know, we need to instill in our men genuine biblical manhood, muscular maturity in our boys. As we raise them to maturity, we have to instill masculine values in them, things such as courage and boldness and a commitment to stand against error, to stand against evil, a commitment to protect and to provide for the people that are looking to us for provision and for protection. And that's kind of missing right now in America. This is an article on National Review about the growing attack on boys. You know, and the subtitle is "Boyhood is Not a Disease." A lot of people think it is. You realize how many boys are diagnosed with ADHD and they're put on psychotropic drugs? I mean, I think it's 37%, according to this article. Oh, no, 20% of all boys will have been diagnosed with ADHD by the time they get to high school, which is a 37% increase since 2003. So a lot of these boys, they don't have ADHD. You know what they are? They're boys. They're healthy. They're energetic. They're active. They want to pursue. They want to explore. They don't like being tied down to a chair. What are they? They are boys. Healthy, active, growing boys. And we're literally drugging them into submission and drugging them into compliance. And part of the problem, you know, is we structure our schools for the ways that girls learn, not for the ways that boys learn, because girls are much more likely to be okay with the kind of pace, a quiet learning environment, focus on reading, a focus on being still, absorbing. Guys get antsy with that kind of stuff. Why? Because that's the way God made them. They're boys. Now, they can learn. I'm not saying they can't learn or there's no place for that kind of instruction, but our schools are all set up for the way that girls learn, not the way the boys learn. And so when boys struggle with that environment, then naturally we blame them. You know, why can't you be more like Kelly over here and cooperate and be receptive and responsive? And it's hard for them to do it.
Yeah, we like to build stuff. We like to build it and then break it. That's what boys like to do.
Build it and break it. You know, and the writer has a number of boys, and she says, I have people apologizing to me or feeling sorry for me because I have so many boys. Oh, my goodness, you have all boys? I'm so sorry. Like it's like her children are born with some kind of chronic disease of some kind. And here's a quote from somebody who's actually kind of against boys growing into manhood. The power that white American boys have been taught to seize for generations comes from the already powerless women, people of color, everyone who isn't us, which is why, in a macro sense, the lessening power of men, straight and white particularly, is an unquestioned societal good. When others rise, we must fall. So here's the guy saying, look, it's good that we're squashing boys, because all the power that they have, they got by taking it from the weak and the powerless. All right, we will take your phone calls when we come back. The number is 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Talk about anything that's been in the news this past week. Free for All Friday. We'll be right back.
You wish you could stop thinking about it, but you can't. It never quite leaves your thoughts. Even in the joyful moments, it's there. The sadness, shame, and sorrow. You know you can't go on like this, so don't. Phone the International Helpline for Abortion Recovery at 866-482-LIFE. Your call is confidential, and you'll be talking with someone who's already been where you are and found the way out. 866-482-LIFE.
American Family Coffee is coffee with a cause. Not only is it a delicious way to start your day, but it can also wake you up to the idea of supporting the American Family Association through a product you'd normally buy anyway. And you know, there's almost nothing as wholesome and basic to American culture as a good cup of coffee. Choose from morning blend, evening blend, and everything in between. Get your American Family Coffee and support the American Family Association at afastore.net.
You shall not murder. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildman, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. This is the 6th commandment of the 10 commandments. You shall not murder. We are asking schools all over America to put this on their marquees, put this on their signs out in front of their school for 1 week to remind America's students that innocent life is precious. Help us spread the word about this campaign to your friends and family. Please go to our website, afa.net, and sign our open letter to America's schools. We need to proclaim this message, you shall not murder, across the land. Why? Because gun control alone will not solve matters of the heart. We need our young people to understand that murder is a violation of God's law, and also it's a violation of the laws all across this land. So help us. Go to afa.net and spread the word.
American Family Radio. You're listening to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point, American Family Radio. Brian Fisher is my name. Very good to have you in the conversation. Number to call is Free for All Friday. Talk about anything that has been in the news over the past week. 888-589-8840 is the number to call. Glad to have you weigh in on anything we've talked about today or anything that's been in the news over the course of the past week. 888-589-8840.
I'd especially be interested in hearing from callers from San Diego to see if they found Bubbles yet.
Yeah, Bubbles was the 5.5-foot monitor lizard. I warned you about him yesterday. It was a travel warning that you only heard here on Focal Point. You're going to San Diego. Bubbles, 5.5-foot monitor. He's on the loose.
Still?
Got away from the pet store. Well, I haven't had an update, so who knows? So be careful if you're going to San Diego.
He lurks amongst them.
So again, the number is 888-589-8840. Let's grab a call to start this segment with Jerry in College Station, Texas. Welcome, Jerry. What's on your mind?
The ADHD. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go right ahead. Got you 5 by 5.
All right. Roger that. So I was diagnosed as a child in the 70s with ADHD, and in the 70s they didn't even think it was a disorder, so they didn't have the drugs that they now have today that they recognize it as a disorder. So now I am back in college, and in order for me to be able to receive extra time for taking tests with a disability, because now it's recognized by the National Board of Psychology as a disability, I had to get re-diagnosed, and I was re-diagnosed even as an adult with ADHD. And the first thing that was offered wasn't lessons on how to cope with it or study skills or anything other than we have these drugs that you can take that will help you be able to focus and cope with this disorder that you have. And having it most or all of my life, told the physician that I declined to take the drugs because, one, I don't like the way they make me feel if I were to take them, and I don't like not feeling in control when I take drugs. So I take no drugs. After saying that, the physician then again was trying to say, the drug, it doesn't affect anything other than how you can focus and shouldn't impair any of your other cognitive senses. But I don't think the physician got the point of I don't want nor like taking drugs, legal or not. I don't take drugs at all. I've never taken any type of drug. But instead of trying to refer me to a specialist that could say, hey, for your disorder, there's ways that help you concentrate by doing these exercises or doing these exercises, it was straight to the drugs, which, unfortunately, I think I've passed the ADHD along to my child. And even as a parent of a child, the last thing I'm going to want to do is give that child of mine drugs and take the lessons that I've learned from having it and dealing with it to pass on to that child.
Well, and it's interesting what you're talking about is that and I see this in our culture today, the first instinct is to try to find a pill for somebody. Yeah. No matter what the problem is, let's get a pill in you. Let's find a prescription for you. And so again, our kind of knee-jerk response, and I'm not saying that all prescription medications are bad. I'm not saying that at all. I was on some pain medications recovering from my surgery, and I wanted to get off that stuff just like Jerry did. I wanted to get off that stuff just as soon as I possibly could. I mean, I was happy for the pain relief, but I did not like it. Kind of made me a little groggy at times and stuff like that. And so I wanted to get off of that just as soon as I could and get shuck of all that. And that's what Jerry's saying about ADHD. He didn't want to feel drugged up all the time because it can make you, it may provide some relief from symptoms, but it's not the solution. All right, Jerry, appreciate the call. Thank you for that.
Just real quick, an update from Allison, who lives in San Diego. It says so far no sign of bubbles.
Okay, thank you, Allison. We're counting on you. You are our man on the street in San Diego.
Woman.
Well, I'm using generically.
Person.
You are our person on the street in San Diego. We're counting on you. You see bubbles, you alert the authorities, and then you call us. All right, let's go to Eric in North Carolina. Eric, welcome. What's on your mind?
I was thinking about that where you quoted the person that's against boyhood.
Yeah.
And how they feel that the scenario has to be a win-loss scenario.
Yeah.
But when that you recognize things according to God's law where we're complementary, where there is no Jew, Greek, except and in our modern, blacks, whites, in Christ, it's not win or loss. There's four kinds of deals one can have. Win or loss on either side, lose, or the way when God is involved can usually be the case, is win-win. And when we live under his rules, it's win-win.
Well, that's a great way to put it, and if we have boys and girls, for instance, we want boys to be boys, we want girls to be girls. We want the boys to learn how to be polite, to be courteous, to be chivalrous. We want them to learn how to open doors for the girls in their elementary school class. We want boys to learn how to speak kindly to them and courteously to them. We want boys to learn how to treat them with respect, not call them names, not push them around. That's what we want. And we want girls to learn how to reciprocate in kind. And when you do that, it's great. It's fun. The boys like the girls like the boys. Everybody gets along, and that's a win-win. All right, Eric, thank you. I appreciate that. Good call. Let's go to David in Tyler, Texas. David, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, sir.
It's a great day. Hillary's not president. Hey, I just want to say that I think Donald Trump is actually being very conventional in his dealings with North Korea. For thousands of years now, countries have dealt with other countries from a position of strength, not from the capitulation that the Democratic Party and the snowflakes over there want to, let's all just sit down and talk it out. We can all get along. But I think Donald Trump understands, just like Ronald Reagan did, that you tell them what you're going to do and make them make a decision. So I appreciate your letting me talk.
All right, you bet, David. Appreciate it. And, that historically has been the way. But see, I think what Barack Obama thought he was going to change that entire equation. I mean, Barack Obama genuinely thought that the sheer magnetism and brilliance and awesomeness of his presence and his approach to diplomacy was going to create world peace. Remember, this is the day when the seas are going to begin to lower, the sun is going to begin to shine, people are going to start beating their swords into plowshares. I mean, that was the over-exaggerated view he had of his own skill, and he was going to be the light bringer, but he didn't get anywhere. The problem in North Korea did not get better one bit until Donald Trump came along and started rattling his saber, and Kim Jong-un said, he might pull that thing out of that saber and use it on me. We better get busy here making peace. All right, let's go to Al in Plano. Al in Plano, Texas, welcome. What's on your mind?
Brian, hi. I'm glad you're doing so well, and my wife and I love your show.
Thank you.
You mentioned Leon Panetta early, and the one thing I want to bring out, it was the fact that Panetta is the source of the leak. He revealed the doctor who helped us pretty much identify bin Laden over there in Pakistan. I mean, that was classified information. So he tells the whole world this doctor is now in prison over there, serving for 30 years. That's incredible and shameful. And the other thing, having served in Korea, U.S. forces, a little concerned about how North Korea has played us so often. I mean, I really do hope that Donald Trump can pull this off. I recognize that South Korea currently has extremely weak leadership under their President Moon. So I hope he can pull it off. I hope he would get the Nobel Peace Prize, which would restore some credibility to that award. And I thank you for hearing me, and have a great day, Brian.
All right, Al. Well, I guarantee you, if, like I said before, if President Obama had done what Donald Trump has done, I mean, the left would be demanding that he get a Nobel Peace Prize. If he didn't get one, they would storm the Bastille, and it wouldn't be a pretty picture, insisting that he get the Nobel Peace Prize. Here's another story, speaking of Panetta, and that shows you, I mean, there's a reason why information is classified, is to protect innocent people. So he exposes that doctor who at considerable risk helped us get bin Laden, and now that guy, his life has been shrunken. He's now in prison. Left-leaning Mother Jones reported Friday, so they're no friend of the Obama administration, they reported that President Barack Obama's national security advisor, Susan Rice, ordered officials to stand down as Russia allegedly attempted to meddle in the 2016 presidential elections. NSC, that's National Security Council officials, were reportedly alarmed by Russia's attempts to meddle in the 2016 presidential election. Michael Daniel, an NSC official responsible for the Russian portfolio, told to the book's authors of multiple plans to strike fear in Russian President Vladimir Putin with the aim of ending their election meddling. These plans included surreptitiously releasing personal information about Putin's family. One day in late August, National Security Advisor Susan Rice called Daniel into her office and demanded he cease and desist from working on the cyber options he was developing. Don't get ahead of us, she warned. The White House was not prepared to endorse any of these ideas. Daniel and his team in the White House Cyber Response Group were given strict orders. Stand down. She told Daniel, quote, end quote, knock it off. All right, so Susan Rice, and remember, she's the one that did all the unmasking, so she revealed some classified information. All right, let's go to Ty in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Ty, welcome. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
Hey, Brian. Thanks for taking my call. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to talk about illegal immigration.
Uh-huh.
I don't think Democrats know the difference between illegal and legal. Now, we all here in America are legal immigrants. Now, I don't know how they can't, define the two. Now, I want to ask you this, Brian. Immigration has been here for a long time. This didn't just happen. And what I want to say is, Brian, is somebody's letting them slip through the cracks. Who is doing that, Brian? I mean, why we can't keep our own forces, if we really want to secure the border, why don't you send the own forces over there and really kick them out?
Yeah. Well, and we appreciate that call, Ty. I'm out of time, so I got to let you go. Well, we're doing that in North Korea right now. We got 28,000 soldiers on the border between North Korea, South Korea. That place is locked up tighter than a drum. So it's perfectly permissible to use the military for that purpose because you're dealing with a national security issue. We'll be back after the news. Stay with us. Focal Point, American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Secular progressives in the United States have worked to alter the very nature of our republic.
For the progressives, there are no longer any God-given natural rights.
AFA Executive Vice President Ed Vitagliano helps you understand the progressive threat to the American Republic. Get your copy of this powerful DVD from the AFA Cultural Institute at afastore.net.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio, a ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President Trump shocked the world and accepted a meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. However, a meeting with Kim was on the table for a while, as John Decker explains.
Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said President Trump has been open to a meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un for some time and decided Thursday that now the time was right.
And I think this was the most forward-leaning report that we've had in terms of Kim Jong-un's not just willingness, but his strong desire for talks.
In a phone conversation with President Trump, Chinese President Xi Jinping praised the president for what he called his positive gesture to resolve the Korean Peninsula nuclear crisis and said he hoped that the U.S. and North Korea could engage in direct dialogue as soon as possible. At the White House, John Decker, Fox News.
A Missouri town loses a member of its police department for the second time in 7 months. Steve Jordahl reports the tragedy comes with a strange twist.
Clinton, Missouri is in mourning after 30-year-old Christopher Ryan Morton was killed while responding to a suspected domestic situation Tuesday night. 2 other officers were wounded in the gunfire. They are expected to recover. Sergeant Bill Lowe of the Missouri State Highway Patrol is speaking for the Clinton PD and the Morton family.
Domestic calls, 911 calls, those are typically the most dangerous types of calls that officers go on. So, we're still always diligent and hypersensitive to those situations.
Adding to the trauma, it appears the officers were sent to the wrong house.
After further investigation, it was revealed that the 911 call that came in was from a separate address in Windsor, Missouri, which was probably 15 to 20 miles away.
Sergeant Lowe says Morton entered the house and then the suspect opened fire. That man was also killed, but there were no crimes discovered in the house before the shots. Emotions are raw in Clinton, which is going through this for the second time.
The fact that this incident happened 7 months, actually, to the day of Officer Michael's death, they were just kind of moving past that, and now they have to deal with another tragedy.
Officer Gary Michael was killed during a traffic stop last August. Morton becomes the 26th officer to die in the line of duty this year, the 15th by gunfire. I'm Steve Jordahl.
An author and end-time scholar hopes his newest book will enlighten readers about the growing threat to world peace posed by Russia. Chad Groening has more.
New York Times bestselling author Joel Rosenberg's new book is called The Kremlin Conspiracy. In the novel, the president of the Russian Federation is plotting to reconquer the 3 Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, once enslaved by Moscow during the Soviet era. Rosenberg says a recent headline said, quote, Baltic nations warn U.S. not to underestimate Russia threat.
I'm really concerned that Russia is the most serious threat that we face as Americans, as the West. I believe that Vladimir Putin is more dangerous to the West than radical Islam.
And Rosenberg says the 3 Baltic leaders will actually be meeting with President Trump at the White House on April 3rd to discuss the Russian threat.
The reason is because these leaders are terrified that Vladimir Putin is amassing more and more troops and tanks close to the Baltic borders. They've been running war game exercises, practicing how to invade the Baltic states.
And Rosenberg says even though they are NATO allies, he is not confident the United States and other NATO members will come to their aid.
I don't know, honestly, if any American president would really go to war against Russia, risking the possibility of that escalating fairly rapidly into nuclear war, would we really go to war for one of the Baltic states?
Rosenberg says if Trump and the other allies don't respond, that would mean the end of NATO. I'm Chad Groening.
And U.S. employers went on a hiring binge last month. The Labor Department says employers added 313,000 jobs in February, the most since July 2016. American Family News is online at onenewsnow.com, and you can download the One News Now mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Exposing Washington with Walker Wildman.
So who is responsible for the dysfunction in Washington? That's what we're going to be discussing today.
We have become one of the most litigious societies on the planet.
The goal of this show is to bring clarity to the news coming out of Washington, D.C., and to expose the deception that has plagued our nation's capital for decades.
Exposing Washington.
Each Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Central.
On American Family Radio.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said he is committed to denuclearization.
Rocket Man should have been handled a long time ago. Little Rocket Man.
We're happy that we have engagement.
This is an extraordinary development.
Remember what got them to the table? The sanctions, and unfortunately, probably some of the bluster coming out of the White House.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself.
The more aggressive he gets, the more he gets done. All of a sudden, Un started talking to
Kim Jong-un has added diplomacy to his arsenal.
He expressed to meet President Trump as soon as possible.
President Trump can truly solve this problem. That would be going down as a great president. And there's no way around that. That is the reality here.
I think the world is breathing a sigh of relief.
Freedom prospers when religion is vibrant and the rule of law under God is acknowledged.
An informed patriot is what we want.
Welcome to American Family Radio's Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on conservative talk radio.
Muscular Christianity.
Where we relentlessly explore the intersection of truth and politics.
The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
Now, here's your host, Brian Fisher.
Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of Free for All Friday on Focal Point on American Family Radio. Don't forget, we are heading toward SpamFest Friday.
Yeah.
In just 24 short minutes. We will introduce you to our intern, who we'll have here for a little while, and what we're going to do on Fridays. Going to use this gift that we got from somebody that works at Hormel, and very grateful for the gift. We didn't know how many varieties of Spam there were till we got this gift, so now we know, and we're going to have a little fun with it. That'll be coming up at the bottom of the hour. I want to listen to a montage of the police calls from Scott Peterson. Speaking of education, by the way, this is just off topic, but the Baltimore City Public Schools, you know what they could not do last winter? They couldn't keep their schools heated. But what they have managed to do is find a way to rent 3,000 buses and give not 3,000 buses, but enough 60 buses to send 3,000 kids to Washington, D.C. for the March for Our Lives protest. Oh. They're sending them with a free lunch and with a free T-shirt. And this is a school district that cannot keep their schools heated. That's a issue of priorities right there. Yeah.
Where's that at? Baltimore?
That's Baltimore, yeah. And here's a North Carolina school district that has a message for potential attackers. This is not a gun-free zone. So this is another school district taking the initiative to have armed personnel during working hours. According to WBTV, the Stanley County School Board unanimously voted in favor of allowing the Stanley County Sheriff to use armed volunteers to protect their school. Measure comes after the North Carolina legislature passed a law that gave school districts the authority to use armed volunteers. So that is in North Carolina. Good for them. Now, let's go to clip R3. Scott Peterson was the Broward County Sheriff's deputy. It's taken a lot of heat. He was the one that was outside the building, did not go in, taken a lot of heat for not going in. He's had some different explanations after the event. He said, number one, I thought the shooting was coming from outside the building. We'll hear in his own words that he knew that the shots were coming from inside the building. Later, we heard that the captain who was over the deputies that responded, told them to form a perimeter. She told them not to go in. I still haven't heard any follow-up on that, because I don't know if Scott Peterson heard from her before he started talking on the phone or somewhere in the middle of this, and that's why he stayed outside, because that was a direct order, or whether he disobeyed district policy, because district policy is you go in, apparently. Broward Sheriff's County policy is if you have an active shooter situation at a school, you go in. You don't have to wait for backup. You don't have to establish a perimeter. You just go in, find the shooter, and neutralize them. Apparently, that is school district policy. If we hear anything different, we'll let you know. But here is the calls, the police calls from that day, from the day of the shooting. We've isolated the Scott Peterson audio so you can hear what he had to say while this event was going down. Let's listen.
We have possible, could be firecrackers. I think we got shots fired. Possible shots fired. 1200 building.
Attention all units in District 15. Possible shots fired at 5901 Pine Island Road at Stoneman Douglas High School. Possible shots fired at Stoneman Douglas High School.
Julie 3, make sure we get some units over here. I need to shut down Stoneman Douglas. The intersection.
10-4. 5901 Pine Island.
We're talking about the 1200 building. It's going to be the building off of Holmberg Road. We don't have any description yet. We just hear shots, but appears to be shots fired. I'm over on the south side, over by the 700 building. 17 Juliet 3, we're looking at the 1200 building. It's going to be the 300 building. It's going to be right off of Holmberg Road by the senior lot. Keep the school locked down, gentlemen. All right, 26. So we also heard it over by inside the 1200 building. We're locking down the school right now. Make sure there's no pedestrian traffic anywhere on Holmberg Road. Juliet 3, we're going to Bravo. I hear shots fired.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
All units on the shots fired, stay on Main.
17 Yankee 4, we definitely have shots being fired. Hey, Julie 3, make sure I have a unit over in the front of the school. Make sure nobody comes inside the school. Holmberg shut down. We're going to build a 13 in the 900 building. We have shots fired. I'm trying to get the fence open. Alex, do not approach the 12 or 1300 buildings. Stay at least 500 feet away at this point. 17 Juliet 4, I had a parent tell me that there is a child down. Have fire rescue stage in the area until we can make contact. The parent told me there is a child down. Have them rescue stage. Tango 2, I got a victim with a gunshot to the right leg. Said a gunshot to the right leg. Show me the west end of the high school by the football field.
All right, so Scott Peterson, you heard a lot of that. It was a little bit garbled in places, but you heard him say that the shots were coming from inside the building, and he continued to talk all the way through the communication about the 1200 building, that this is where the focus was, this is where the problem was. Heard shots fired from the 1200 building, but at the same time, he's telling people, and he's talking to police dispatch here. Not talking to the general public, talking to police dispatch and telling them, do not approach the 12 or 1300 building. Stay at least 500 feet away. Another time he gives the command to lock down the building and not to go in. So we'll see how all of that plays out. I still have some questions about all of this, but the Miami Herald published a minute-by-minute timeline of what happened there. And again, you know, Scott Peterson had insisted in a statement through his attorney that he believed the gunfire was happening outside on campus by the athletic field and not from inside the building, but he clearly focused on Building 12 here, and even at one point said the gunfire was happening over by inside the 1200 building. And he is on the dispatch warning his fellow officers to stay away from the building, even with wounded students and staff laying inside the building. Now, according to the Miami Herald paper, Broward County policy calls for deputies to engage an active shooter and eliminate the threat, which neither Scott Peterson nor the other three deputies did. And by the way, by the time the Coral Springs police got there, the shooting was over. The timeline indicates that Cruz was dropped off by an Uber Lyft at 2:19. 2 minutes later, 2:21, he's inside the building and starts firing within 15 seconds. 2:22, the fire alarm is triggered. Scott Peterson calls in at 2:23. This is 4 minutes after we got there, about 2 minutes after he started shooting. Be advised, we have could be firecrackers. I think we have shots fired, possible shots fired, 1,200 building. That's at 2:23. So Peterson arrives at the southeast corner of Building 12 and appeared to remain there for the duration of the incident. Get the school locked down, gentlemen, he says, from his post outside the 1,200 building. So anyway, 2:27 was when the shooting was over. The Coral Springs folks didn't get there till 2:28 after the shooting was over. Be right back.
Here's Twyla Brace, president of CCHF, with today's Health Freedom Minute.
Should laws limit access to pain medication? Legislators want to restrict access to opioids by limiting the doctor's ability to prescribe, taxing prescriptions, and tracking prescribers. Pain exists, but what if it becomes difficult for people in pain to get an effective pain medication? Consider this. A study of 1 million patients receiving opioids for pain after surgery had a total misuse rate of 0.6%. That's 6,000 patients. Should 1 million patients have restricted access to pain medications to prevent 6,000 people from misusing opioids? How much pain are you willing to live with to keep opioids off the street?
Learn more about protecting your healthcare choices. Sign up for the CCHF Weekly E-News Update at cchfreedom.org. That's cchfreedom.org.
Hey, I'm Brant. Maybe you've heard me talking about Medishare, but now I give you my friend Sherry.
Yes, I have loved Medishare. Loved it.
Is that all you have to say? Because this will be really short.
No, I really do love it. I've saved hundreds a month. And overall, I just think it's a better choice of a healthcare program for me. I'm really happy with it. And honestly, normally, I don't even like talking about this stuff.
Nobody does.
But Medishare is different. Medishare members share each other's healthcare bills. We pray for each other. It's a not-for-profit, so we all save money.
True. Tell them about the thing.
What thing?
The online thing.
Oh, yeah, I used that the other night. Medishare members can now access a doctor online 24/7. You can get a prescription for the flu or something just that fast.
So Medishare can save you hundreds a month. You get to be part of the community. You get a huge network of doctors and providers to choose from.
It's all pretty awesome.
It's all pretty awesome.
It's all pretty awesome.
The final verdict from Jerry. So call 855-SALM-23. That's 855-PSALM-23. 855-SALM-23.
This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on American Family Radio.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point, American Family Radio. Brian Fisher is my name. You're listening to Free for All Friday on Focal Point on American Family Radio Network. I'm your congenial, convivial, and amiable host, Brian Fisher. Pleased to welcome to our decision maker line a frequent guest on this program, Dan Gainor. Dan is the Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. And Dan, welcome back to Focal Point on American Family Radio. And you guys monitor the media. It's been sort of a target-rich environment this week.
That is the understatement of understatements. Watching liberal heads explode as Trump talks about peace with North Korea is one of the most epically entertaining moments of the Trump presidency.
Well, you know, and I've got a clip here, Dan, I want to play, because the striking thing about this clip is this is from the people at MSNBC. You know, my nickname for them is mostly stuff that's nothing but counterfeit news. That's what the MSNBC stands for. But it's amazing to me what they say about Donald Trump in this clip. I want to just listen to it and ask you to respond to it, Dan, you know, to wrap our heads around the fact that people at MSNBC can't help themselves. They got to find something nice to say about what's happening in North Korea. This is clip R4.
That is an incredible thing, and I don't think there's anybody watching this or any expert on Korea who expected that response at this time. Pretty stunning, just an extraordinary evening, and of course opening the door to the big question. If President Trump can truly solve this problem, that would be going down as a great president. And there's no way around that. That is the reality here.
This is actually a moment that very few of us thought we'd ever see. The North Koreans agreeing to put denuclearization on the table, agreeing to talks with the South Koreans, inviting the President of the United States to have the talks, agreeing to suspend their nuclear and missile tests while they're doing it, in exchange for what? In exchange for nothing. But this is definitely an initiative worth pursuing. The talks themselves, while they go on, will freeze the program. That is a major national security achievement.
This all came up just in the last few hours that this was going to be announced tonight. Now, I think back to the president said just 6 days ago or 5 days ago at that gridiron dinner here in Washington, where he said he would be, of course, open to talks if, in fact, North Korea committed to the potential for denuclearization, abandoning its nuclear weapons program. And it seems like that's where we are. But it is certainly a remarkable evening here at the White House, Chris, that's for sure.
Well, Dan, what do you make of that? It's MSNBC people saying it's remarkable, it's an advance. Aaron Burnett said if he's able to pull this off, he'll, no question, be a great president. What do you make of all of that?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm going to say they're right. Yes, if he can pull this off, we've gone through 3 two-term presidencies where the problem has only gotten worse. That's a bipartisan problem. That's been Clinton, Bush, and Obama. And everybody was always afraid to challenge North Koreans. Well, we've reached a point now where technology is so advanced that North Korea poses a genuine threat not just to our bases in Asia and the South Pacific, but possibly to the United States itself. And so Donald Trump said no more. But everyone forgets, and the media are notorious for forgetting this, with the stick comes the carrot. And, you know, Donald Trump is a deal maker. So he will push hard, and then it's a question who blinks first. In this case, it's very obvious that the North Korean regime blinked first. And you're watching the media freak out about it. It's almost hilarious as if the whole thing is happening.
Well, you know, somebody was quoted as saying people are trying to figure Trump out, that Kim Jong-un is trying to figure Trump out. And I just jokingly commented, everybody's trying to figure Trump out. You know, the Republicans are trying to figure him out, the Democrats are trying to figure him out, the North Koreans are trying to figure him out. And meanwhile, he just keeps accomplishing things.
Yeah, there's inside Washington doesn't like someone who is brash and willing to fight, you know, the way ordinary people would to fight something. We've tried appeasing the various dictators in North Korea. It has failed miserably. And they keep playing the same games, which is expanding their military capabilities. They don't have just nukes. They have various types of weapons of mass destruction, including chemical and biological weapons. They pose a threat not just to the United States, South Korea, but Japan and the whole region. And so Trump standing up to them and the press that told him everything he was doing was wrong. He's just, I mean, that makes us, you know he's got to be gloating, and I don't blame him.
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting, Dan, I don't know what to make. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows Kim Jong-un's mind, but, you know, he said we're going to stop nuclear testing. I guess there's a way that can be tested. He said we're going to denuclearize. That's what the whole talks with Trump are going to be about. I'm committed to denuclearization, to those talks. That's what the South Korean National Security Advisor said. So do you think, I mean, Dan, again, I'm asking you to talk about something. I don't know anybody knows the answer to this question, but what's your opinion about whether Kim Jong-un will follow through on any of the things that he said to Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, it's certainly, you don't have to be a media expert to say certainly it's worth pursuing. But like we've seen with the Iran deal, you have to have it locked down that you can check and confirm that they're obeying the rules. North Korea is notorious for being untrustworthy. I mean, there's a nation that is a death cult that enforces, puts anybody who disagrees with it in death camps. So we need to take this not just with a grain of salt, but like the entire salt factory that you could have. You know, I mean, Lot's wife would not begin to accomplish the salt that we need for this.
Yeah. All right, well, Dan, I want to turn our attention. This week we had International Women's Day. One of the things that we were struck with here in the studio, looking at kind of some of the pictures from the deal, was the fact that a lot of the women that they were featuring for International Women's Day were like guys, like Bruce Jenner. What has Bruce Jenner got to do with International Women's Day? It was more like International Sexually Confused Men's Day.
Yeah, remember, see, every time you push a liberal agenda, the media embrace it as doctrine. So if someone says they can change their gender, doesn't matter how young they say it, 5 years old, you'll have journalists treating it like it's a legitimate thing. And if we get more people like Rachel Dolezal who claim they can change their race, you'll have journalists embracing, oh, well, Dan Gainor, who says that he's whatever race I would claim. Like, look, that's just ridiculous. It doesn't have to be rational. Journalists worry about the feels, and then somebody will convince the idiots at the Associated Press to change their style book, and they'll say, well, see, you can change your race. I tell people this, and they think I'm joking. I guarantee you, in the lifetime of some of my younger staffers, you will be able to declare whatever race you want on your driver's license, up to including not just races that we consider, but races out of science fiction or fantasy. You'll be able to say you're an elf or a Klingon, and people will do it.
So maybe
we'll have to accept it.
So maybe Elizabeth Warren was more of a pathfinder than we thought, more of a pioneer even than we thought.
I think Pathfinder is more appropriate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. One other angle that I want you to talk just for a second on this International Women's Day. One of the points that you make on newsbusters.org is that, well, yeah, there are women celebrating International Women's Day, but there are some missing people in this.
Yeah, the official number is at least 22 million women who were never born because of abortion. I think that number is low in the extreme. I think it's probably closer to 30 million or so, because it's the population of the number of abortions is probably closer to 60 million. But even if it's only, I mean, think about this. We're talking about only 22 million. I mean, that's just, it's depraved. It's disgusting to be talking about this and saying, 22 million women were never there to do science, never there to run for office or to build buildings, design buildings, or do whatever they wanted to do. Maybe there's an artist who's I was talking to once years ago, and he said that maybe the people who could cure cancer, maybe the people who could have helped bring us all together for where the divisive place we're at, all were killed as a result of abortion. Maybe that's one of our biggest problems.
I'm looking at a chart that you had in the article that came along with this there from Newsbusters. It's a bar graph and compares the number of women aborted with the number of people that live in different places. And this is kind of a stunning thing to look at. More women have been aborted than live in New York, than live in Cuba, than live in New York City, than live in Switzerland, or live in Ireland. I mean, that's a pretty staggering thing when you think about the number of lives that have been taken through abortion.
Yeah, if you go by the 60 million person statistic, that's equivalent to every man, woman, and child living from the tip of Maine all the way through New England, down through New Jersey, into Pennsylvania, to the Maryland line. The entirety of the northeast of America is equivalent to how many men and women were aborted by the abortion industry since Roe v. Wade. And when I tell people that statistic, when I've gone to debates and stuff like that, when I tell them, it's like the jaws fall to the floor. They can't. That's something they can imagine. A series of nuclear weapons wiping out people in all those states. And then we realize that it's the abortion industry that's done it.
I remember watching a movie. It was kind of a cute movie about a presidential election, and it was the results of the Electoral College were down to one guy I think it was Kevin Costner, who was not a political guy. So both presidential candidates were trying to convince him to vote for them because whoever he voted for was going to win. And they had a kind of a pretend pro-life commercial in there, and it was taken on this playground, and it was from the pro-life perspective in a Hollywood movie. So you have this playground, you have all these kids out there playing, and all of a sudden there's a little poof, and a kid disappears, and poof, and another kid disappears, and poof, and another kid disappears, trying to illustrate the cost to American society of the abortion industry. My guest has been Dan Gainor, Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. They do invaluable work monitoring the media, watching the media so you and I don't have to. We can benefit from their hard work. Dan, as always, thanks for being with us. Hope you have a terrific weekend. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you. God bless you as well. Thank you.
Dan Gainor, Media Research Center. We'll be right back with SpamFest Friday. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Attention all Christians who would like to become more effective in presenting and defending their beliefs. This is Alex McFarland, and I urge you to attend the 2018 edition of Truth for a New Generation, the conference on apologetics, worldview, and evidence for the Christian faith. TNG is coming to Greensboro, North Carolina, March 23 and 24. Hear an amazing lineup, including Josh McDowell, apologist J. Warner Wallace, Todd Starnes from Fox News, and much, much more.
This is Abraham Hamilton III of the American Family Association. We're in a battle for the future of our nation, and I want to see you at Truth for a New Generation as we pray and get equipped to defend the faith, asking God to save our nation.
Don't miss Truth for a New Generation, March 23 and 24, Greensboro, North Carolina. You may register at truthforanewgeneration.com.
Presented in part by the American Family Association.
You shall not murder. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildman, President of American Family Association and American Family Radio. This is the 6th commandment of the 10 commandments. You shall not murder. We are asking schools all over America to put this on their marquees, put this on their signs out in front of their school for 1 week to remind America's students that innocent life is precious. Help us spread the word about this campaign to your friends and family. Please go to our website, afa.net, and sign our open letter to America's schools. We need to proclaim this message, you shall not murder, across the land. Why? Because gun control alone will not solve matters of the heart. We need our young people to understand that murder is a violation of God's law, and also it's a violation of the laws all across this land. So help us. Go to afa.net and spread the word.
American Family Radio. You're listening to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. Video segments of today's program will be posted at afr.net and on the Focal Point Facebook page. You'll also find the best collection of Brian's resources on our Facebook page. If you're on Twitter, be among the very first every morning to find out what the day's show will be about. Just follow Brian at Brian J. Fisher.
Brian J. Fisher.
Hi, and welcome back to Free for All Friday on American Family Radio, Focal Point. Brian Fisher is my name. And you are listening to Muscular Christianity, Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity, which means we are all about spam. We are all about it.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to introduce, which will be a weekly feature for a little while. We don't know how many weeks. But we have an intern with us. Her name is Kelly. She'll be with us for a number of weeks. She's planning to head off to college next fall, right, Kelly?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Now, but Kelly does not realize that she has to get our permission to go to college, and we ain't going to give it. We're going to keep her right here.
We might just keep her here with us. Right?
Yeah, right here. Yeah. All right, Kelly. And here's the way this thing is going to work. Kelly will be with us, and you'll hear her occasionally on air and all that kind of stuff. She provides a feminine touch, like the rose among the thorns here.
Yeah.
But we got a little introduction music for this weekly SpamFest Friday.
Lovely spam, wonderful spam, lovely spam, wonderful spam,
Monty Python and spam. We were going to use that every week, but man, now that I've listened to it, I don't know. We have a really shortened version of that, maybe. So that's the Monty Python version of spam. Okay, now here's how we're going to do it. I've got 4 varieties of spam here in front of me. Kelly doesn't know what flavors we got. Remember, one of the things we were debating about on air is how many varieties of spam there were. The story in front of me said like 15 or 16, and I heard from somebody that knows, somebody who sent us this gift of spam cans, that there are 18 varieties, and not only are there 18, he sent us an example of each one, a sample of each one. So we got all 18 varieties of spam that they make. I tasted spam for the first time when Debbie made breakfast, put some straight-up spam, just the straight, unadorned, unmonkeyed with spam, original spam, and tried it with some bacon. Tasted great. Now, we're going to let Kelly pick the spam that we are going to sample today, and we're going to sample it here on air. Jeff's going to serve us. Now, is Kelly going to get a sample?
Yeah, she's getting a sample. She's never tasted spam
Okay,
before.
well, this will give her an incentive. This will give her an incentive. If she wasn't going to eat it, she'd be trying to stick us with something that she thought we wouldn't like.
And it's our duty to pass spam on to the next generation.
That's right. We got a millennial with us. It's our job to pass on the traditions that have made America great. All right. In fact, when Debbie was in the grocery store, she saw a woman buying spam, and so she said, well, how do you, because we've never had it before, what do you do with it? How do you fix it? And she said, well, I just slice it up and fry it in the skillet and serve it for breakfast. So that's what we did, and it worked. All right, here we go. Here are our choices, Kelly. You've got teriyaki spam. I bet you didn't even know, listening audience, that existed, teriyaki spam. No. And you have black pepper spam.
Yeah.
The third option today is bacon spam, made with real Hormel bacon, and we have jalapeno spam. Now, we're going to sample one of these. Jeff is going to spoon out a sample of spam, and Rob and I and Kelly will sample it. So what is your choice, Kelly? What are we going to try today?
I think I'm going to have to go with bacon.
Bacon. Well, because it's made with real Hormel bacon. So you got 2 flavors there. Authentic Hormel flavors. So Jeff is opening the can. He's going to dish up a little bit of authentic bacon spam from Hormel. What's that?
I was hoping for the jalapeno.
Well, you'll have other opportunities. Right? We have weeks left to come. All right, Kelly's got her sample. We got some saltine crackers to go with this.
Do we need to check the expiration date on this?
I don't think so. Not with spam. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. Never goes out of date.
Wow.
All right. So Kelly, you're putting it on a cracker. I think what I'm going to do is take a bite of it and then take a bite of cracker with it.
I'm going to eat it straight up.
You just eat it straight? No cracker, no saltine?
Yeah, it's just straight
Okay,
up.
let's go. Here we go. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Tastes like spam to me.
That's pretty good. With a saltine cracker, that's pretty tasty.
I give it a thumbs up. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Thumbs up for me.
It's not bad, yeah.
You like it, Kelly? All right, thumbs up from Kelly. Rob, what do you do?
I think so.
Yeah. Thumbs up. All right, I'm going to take one more sample just to be sure. Maybe you can hear me chewing my saltine cracker. There we go.
This one would probably be really good with fried eggs, and that bacon flavor.
Yeah. All right, there you go. First day of SpamFest Friday.
Who knew?
Everybody liking spam with real Hormel bacon.
Who knew?
All right, Kelly, thank you for picking. You picked well.
I feel like I've learned so much already.
We'll give you another opportunity. What'd you say?
I've learned so much about spam now.
Yeah, and as a millennial, I'm more than you probably ever knew before.
Spam in the place where I live. Ham and think about nutrition. Wonder what's inside it. Spam in my lunchbox at work. It's the best. Makes a darn good sandwich.
Spam in the place where I work.
Yeah, that's Weird Al Yankovic celebrating spam in the place where he works. All right, we got a few minutes left. We'll Free for All Friday. We'll talk about anything that you want to talk about. I want to talk a little bit more about this tariff.
Yeah, I know. It's spam. Who knew spam was so much fun?
Yeah.
That's something else.
I really think the guy that sent it in. Or the lady. I'm not sure whether it was a guy or
it was a
lady.
guy, I think. It was a guy that sent it to us. So our gratitude to whoever sent this. I forget his name now, but we appreciate it. We're going to enjoy it. Now, a couple of quick items before we talk about tariffs just for a few minutes. I love these environmental stories. The U.S. Navy, you might have heard about this when it started. They were trying to go green with their destroyers. They wanted to try to power U.S. Navy destroyers with an electric motor. And they have given it up. They've bagged it. They've abandoned it. They're going back to the regular old fuel. This is from defensenews.com. The Navy is canceling a program to install fuel-efficient hybrid electric drives in 34 destroyers, leaving only one destroyer with the technology, and they're going to keep that around and experiment with it. They've zeroed out funding in 2019 and the years beyond. They've already spent $52 million on this thing down the drain, and President Trump, to his credit, zeroed this out for the 2019 military budget. He's also zeroed out funding for Planned Parenthood, by the way, in his budget submission to Congress. So when the Navy tried this, they ran into problems right away, beginning with the intense electrical load that running the drive system on the ship's 2 running generators was putting on the ship. And they were trying to use these electric motors, electric power, when the destroyer wasn't going at warp speed, wasn't on the way to some kind of mission, but was just kind of cruising through the waters. Even then, it put too much of a load on the ship's 2 running generators. Now, destroyers have 3 generators, but running the electrical motor that turned the shaft while also running the ship's power-hungry radars and related systems maxed out the capacity of those generators. And officials said, at that point, you are a light switch away from winking out the whole ship.
Wow.
Furthermore, running the generators at that load wasn't exactly as fuel efficient as they hoped it would be. That program is toast. So they were on the edge of plunging the entire ship into total darkness by experimenting with green energy. All right, let's play one more soundbite about this whole tariff business. This is clip number 1. This is a guy named Leo Gerard. Now, this is kind of an amazing thing because Leo Gerard he's the president of the United Steelworkers Union. Now, the unions have been the property of the Democratic Party since forever. Republicans have never had a shot at the union vote, union support. Union dues go to support Democrat candidates for office. That's why the schools were in a panic if the Supreme Court rules that teachers are not obligated to pay dues to the union. A lot of them won't. No conservative teacher ever would because it all goes to liberal colleges or causes, and the unions will absolutely freak out because they give a lot of money to Democrats. They get it from the mandatory dues. Supreme Court says no, you can't be compelled to support speech against your will. It's unconstitutional, which is where I'm at, and I hope they rule that way. Then the education unions are going to be screaming about that. But listen to Leo Gerard talking about President Trump enacting or imposing these tariffs on steel and on aluminum. Clip 1.
All we're asking for is a level playing field, and what the president has done is send a signal that he's going to help us get a level playing field. And we gave the Republicans, we gave the Democrats, we've given every government since before Clinton hope that they would do something. And Wilbur Ross and Peter Navarro and Bob Lighthizer deserve to be complimented for recognizing that if the next 20 years are like the last 20 years, we really have a national security problem. And we need to make sure that our friends are with us and not against us. Let me say this, that Donald Trump was able to see the Steelworker agenda. What he did is what we've been fighting for more than 30 years. And I think what happened is that he's going to have a major impact on our members. It's going to make it very hard for our members to ignore what he's just did. And what makes me sad is we've been trying to get Democrats to do this for more than 30 years.
So Leo Gerard, head of the Steelworkers Union, thanks for coming on, sharing your views. Much appreciated, sir.
Thanks to be on, Chuck. Look forward to more.
Look forward to more. He says, I want to come back, Chuck. I want to keep sticking this right in your face. Donald Trump did in 1 year what the Democrats could not do for us in 30 years. Why don't you try chewing on that, Chuck Todd, for a while? So anyway, Gerard's saying, look, he's going to have a major impact on the members of the Steelworkers Union. If they crack the union barrier, if the Republican Party can crack that barrier, get some union support, I mean, it will upend the political landscape in America. So that's Donald Trump with the tariffs. Now, again, tariffs are a mixed bag. You know, I got a story right here that says metal taxes will make America rusty again. $177 tax on cars, tax on appliances of 5 to 10%. It'll lead to lower wages, curbed output from everybody that depends on American steel because it's going to cost more for the steel. Beer Institute CEO Jim McGreevey says this is a $347 million tax on America's brewers and will cost about 20,000 jobs. So like everything, there is another side to this. It's going to raise the cost of everybody that produces things that use steel. So we'll see how it works out. Focal Point American Family Radio. We'll be back with your calls, Free for All Friday. Stay with us.
Some 2,000 years ago, the followers of the crucified Christ learned that he had risen from the grave. They quickly spread the word that Jesus was alive. It's good news that spread from one generation to the next, and now it's our turn. One way to tell this extraordinary news to others is by simply wearing and sharing our colorful He Lives Easter buttons. Get your pack of 10 today at afastore.net.
Hi, this is David Barton of Wall Builders Live, inviting you to join me here on American Family Radio this weekend. We take the ideas of the Founding Fathers and apply those ideas to the major issues of the day. Our guests include those who are in the headlines as well as experts on issues facing this great nation. Along the way, you'll discover the role that faith has played in our nation's history as well as in dealing with the issues we face right now. Join us Saturday afternoon at 2 Central here on American Family Radio.
Are you a responsible person who finds yourself growing deeper and deeper in credit card debt and you're not sure how to fix the problem? Then get ready for a toll-free number that will put you on a path to financial recovery. Trinity Debt Management is a nonprofit organization that will consolidate your accounts into one easy-to-manage monthly payment, put a stop to late fees and over-limit charges, and reduce your interest rates by as much as 60%. You'll save thousands and become debt-free for keeps. It's not a loan. It's a smart way to relieve your stress, meet your obligations, and preserve your self-respect. If your debt has you down, we should talk. Gather up your bills and call this toll-free number for a free, no-obligation debt analysis. 1-800-788-1813. That's 1-800-788-1813. If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813.
American Family Radio. You're listening to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. Focal Point, Brian Fisher.
Free for All Friday on Focal Point. You know what Donald Trump has done with the Steelworkers Union? He's got the president of the Steelworkers Union saying he made a huge impact on us. It's going to be very hard for our workers to ignore what Donald Trump has done for us here, singing his praises. So it's got the Democrats, I mean, they are shaken right down to the bottom of their bass weegens on this. It's sending tremors through the entire Democratic Party, genuine panic behind closed doors in the DNC. All right, the number to call to join the program here in the last quarter hour is 888-589-8840. Yes,
you know,
sir, Rob?
something we forgot? We forgot Devin on the spam. We need to take him some spam.
Yeah, we need to take him a sample for the rest of his afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, he's hard at work call screening. He needs
we gotta fortify the boy.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Robert in Mississippi. Robert in Mississippi, welcome. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
Have you ever heard of the GEET machine?
The what machine?
Golf, Echo, Tango. It runs off the fumes of crude oil.
Yeah.
So, man came up with it back in the 70s. And, you discuss the going green for the battleships whenever the spill happened in the Gulf of all the crude pouring out of the bottom of the Gulf. And I don't remember what oil company it was, Exxon, Chevron, one of those. He went to them and said, I can build you a machine that can help suck all this up and take care of it for free. because it runs off of the crude oil. It's got just as much power as any other motor. Kind of wondering why we don't use it. Man was put in jail for some reason at some point in time for conspiracy against the government or something like that. But watching videos on the Geek machine.
It'd run off straight crude. It wasn't processed. It just ran off straight.
It runs off the fumes of the crude oil. Wow. It actually doesn't run off of it. You watch the video, and it actually creates oxygen. Wow. So, and the exhaust that comes out of it, they had put like handkerchiefs over it. This is in the 70s. Put handkerchiefs over the back of it. You stick it to your face, and you don't smell any exhaust whatsoever. You don't smell any fumes whatsoever.
Well, you'd think the military would be all over that, so we'll have to look into that. Well, that's green battleships. The military experimented with green destroyers, and they are done with that experiment. Let's go to Sharon, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Sharon, welcome. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
Hi, Brian. I was just wondering, I haven't heard anybody say anything about this regarding the tariffs on the aluminum and steel. Is this not a good opportunity to increase recycling and with possibly even create jobs by creating more recycling opportunities?
Well, it certainly should, at least especially anything made out of aluminum. I mean, aluminum cans, it could become kind of lucrative now to recycle those, what you could get. So who knows? We'll see. Could be a whole nother industry that pop up alongside.
Recycled Spam cans.
Recycle Spam cans, get money out of that, get some of your money back on that deal. Let's go to Charles in Lewisburg, West Virginia. Charles, welcome. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
Well, Brian, Jeff, and Rob, it's clear that you didn't grow up in West Virginia.
Okay.
Spam was a regular. I'm 68, so we had Spam. Spam and bologna. I didn't know it was red meat other than Spam, bologna, and chicken until I went to college.
So Spam was like a staple of the West Virginia diet?
That's right. Spam and eggs, or Spam and jelly and fried egg sandwich. It was the best thing in the world, and it was easy. My mom worked, my dad worked, and she'd come in and fix us that, and it was it was quick for her to fix something for us to eat, and we enjoyed it. We lapped it up. Of course, you know what kids are. They'll eat anything as long as it stays still.
Spam and hash browns, Spam mixed in hash browns, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So let me ask you this question. Charles, you grew up in Spam in Lewisburg, West Virginia there. Did they have varieties of Spam then, like different flavors, or was it just regular old Spam?
Regular old Spam. I didn't even know there was varieties until you said so.
Well, I didn't either, and all of a sudden I found out there's 18 of them. You got teriyaki. We got some teriyaki here. We got some jalapeno, black pepper. So
that sounds good to me.
All right, Charles. Well, listen, I appreciate it. That's a message from an expert. All right, Charles, thanks for the call. I appreciate that. Let us go to Darren in Downing, Missouri. Darren, welcome. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
Yeah, Brian, concerning the women on The View, and I use that term rather loosely, but their ridicule of Mike Pence talking to God and God talking to him. And I just heard a clip sometime this week about Oprah. Someone asked Oprah Winfrey if she's going to run for president, and she said she didn't know yet, but she would if God told her to. And so I think the women on The View are going to be kind of in a bind, because I'm sure they'd love for her to run, but yet it's going to be God telling her to do it. And I'd just like your comments on that.
Yeah, and we talked about that right afterwards. It's a great observation that you make, and it's one that we talked about at the time, Darren, that Joy Behar is on record as saying if you think God is speaking to you, then you have a mental illness. Mm-hmm. If you think Jesus is speaking to you like Mike Pence does, I talk to Jesus, he talks to me, you are mentally disturbed, you're mentally ill. So you're right, Darren, they're pretty much obligated by their own worldview, at least Joy Behar is, to say that Oprah Winfrey, she is nuts. Don't vote for that woman. She is a lunatic on the order of Mike Pence. All right, Darren, great observation. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Kevin, Columbus, Ohio. Kevin, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, just wanted to talk to you for a moment and have you think about maybe comparing and contrasting the Cuban Missile Crisis with the North Korean missile crisis. Would this be considered the millennials missile crisis?
Ah, well, that's interesting. Maybe this is the closest thing we've had. we haven't really had kind of the direct standoff that we had with the Cuban Missile Crisis, but certainly North Korea has been threatening us, and they have been working on the distance they can reach with their ballistic missiles, and they can put a nuclear-tipped warhead on the end of one of those, and they could, according to them, and I think according to some people in our military, they can reach any point in the continental United States. So once that technology is confirmed and they keep threatening, then you bet we've got the same thing that we had with the Cubans back in 1962. All right, Kevin, appreciate the parallel. That's instructive. Let's go to Chad, Mansfield, Ohio. Chad, welcome. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
Yes, just with the illegal immigrants that commit crimes in the U.S. I'm wondering why we don't just prosecute them with the laws that are from their own country, which most of them would probably get executed for what they do. And it just seems kind of strange that we just let them go so they can come right back in our country.
Yeah. Well, and that's true. The reality is, one of the problems that we've had with illegal immigration is there are countries, Chad, that will not take illegal immigrants back. They come to America, they're illegal here, they're here illegally, they commit crimes, they're apprehended, or there might even be legal immigrants who commit crimes, and the penalty is to be deported for committing a crime as an immigrant, legal or not. And so we want to ship them back to the country they're from, and these countries are saying, no, we don't want them back. You keep them. That's flotsam and jetsam. We don't want these people back in our culture. And the Supreme Court ruled some time ago, back in 2001 or something, the longest that we could keep them incarcerated was 6 months. And if their home nation wouldn't take them back after 6 months, we had to release them, had to turn them loose on American soil as convicted criminals. So that's kind of where we're at, And if you could extradite them, deport them, which would be a form of extradition, then we would just be handing them over to their home country for justice, and you can't guarantee that they do it. So I think it's still appropriate for us to punish them here. They committed the crime here on American soil. Let's carry out the justice that's prescribed by American law, incarcerate them or whatever for whatever period of time. Then we ship them back, and we insist that their home countries take them back. And what Donald Trump has been doing, saying to these countries, if you won't take them back, we are going to withhold visas from your country. You won't be able to get a visa to come to the United States ever again. It's permanent until you undo that prohibition on illegal immigrants from our soil coming back to your soil. All right, Chad, good question. Let's go to Rose in Tupelo, Mississippi. Rose, welcome. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
Hi, Brother Brian. It's Ruth. He misunderstood me. For some reason, people think I'm saying Rose when I say Ruth.
All right, Ruth. My apologies.
Anyway, I was busy doing something, too. What was that about we're crazy if God talks to us? Well, I must be crazy then.
Got a whole lot of people that are crazy.
He done verbally. That would really be awesome. But, yes, he talks to me in my spirit, so I'm crazy. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
What I was calling you about is this was in the news yesterday. I couldn't believe it, though, when I saw it on Facebook today about this coffee shop in Oakland, California that won't serve policemen. I wonder if something happens to their place and gets robbed. Who are they going to call? Police?
They call the police first. That's first place their call would go. And if the police didn't show up, they would be royally hacked off. So, yeah. So somehow or other, the how do I want to frame this? Let's see. What the police need to do is to go in there and self-identify as gay.
Wow.
So that way they have to serve them.
Oh.
They go into the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And say, look, I'm self-identifying today. You've heard about the breakthroughs in gender awareness and gender technology. You can change your gender from one day to the next. We're all, as a police force, today in your shop, we are self-identifying as gay, and you have to serve us or we are going to sue the donuts off of you. So that's the way they could handle that and get away with it. All right, well, that's it for this week. Thank you, Ruth. Appreciate the call. That's it for this week of broadcasting on Focal Point American Family Radio. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Bow low before God, stand tall before man, stand in the gap, and never forget we are fighting a winnable war. See you Monday.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast do not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
News travels fast and it's constantly changing. Keep up on onenewsnow.com. It's a news site featuring the latest breaking stories from across the U.S. and around the world. OneNewsNow.com has well-researched articles from a conservative evangelical perspective. Get the full story when you visit OneNewsNow.com.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio, a ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. There's good news coming out of the February jobs report. Adam Shapiro has more.
313,000 jobs created in February. The unemployment rate holds at 4.1% as 806,000 people enter the labor force. That is the largest one-month gain since